Ladies and gentlemen, how are we doing? It's your boy Roar. Now, I saw Iron Lung. I thought it was fantastic. And it seemed like most of the people criticizing it one way or another were just not understanding the game or understanding the style of horror that Mark went for. And if you've seen the movie, you know. I actually was very surprised at how they kept the suspense and the dread. And later on, you know, you get literally like galactic horror, like what is that called? Like space horror, which I had never seen before. I had never really experienced what it was like to have like the fear of a undiscernible cosmic entity. I mean, it was so cool. And if you've played the game, they hit so many of the major gameplay points pretty early on. So I was sitting there like, what are they going to do for the next hour? What's going on? But it was fantastic. I hope that's enough of a resounding exclamation about the quality of the movie for you guys to go see it. It's with that said that we're going to be checking out Longest Guitar Solos song about Iron Lung called Down at the Bottom. I'm very excited for this. Let's just jump into it. I don't know if this contains spoilers, so be mindful. Okay, so we get just a bunch of different pictures.
I'm barely breathing. One way to absolution. I get my freedom. They get their execution. Live by the numbers, just long enough to die by the lies. I'm going under. Their price, my price. Terminal mission I know I won't make it alive. Covered up, blood and iron, I'm the one they left inside. No, I'm not the first. Tell me I deserve penalty. Killing me, I'm going down.
So I like how they're taking a bunch of ways of describing how you feel in that situation. They really do obviously flesh out the diver in, you know, from the game in the movie, of course. But the, you know, in the game itself, you have no way of knowing what they're feeling or thinking or anything. So to kind of give some connection to that, in addition to piecing together what we know of the powers that be and how they view your situation, you know, if we were to not include the movie, you know, I like how they were describing that in a bunch of different ways, giving us a picture of the, you know, the sort of impending doom that you would feel being in this situation. You're like, I know this isn't going to work out how I want. Hey. Interesting, positive tone. Okay, so I guess that was kind of the bridge. We might be going into the chorus here, but I also do like how we're keeping this very steady visual of a computer. You know, the text on the side is the data logs back and forth, the messaging back and forth, and it sounds like we're talking through a speaker, right? I think that thematically really fits the mood here. I like it. Oh, and then even having the audio visual at the bottom, I think is very cool. I like that. Ooh. Okay, so that is kind of a bit of a... Well, actually, they just kind of mention it in the game itself. You know, it's an ocean of blood. From what? What do we know? If you've seen the movie, they kind of ease into that a little bit, so I don't consider that too much of a spoiler. But yeah, very, very interesting. I guess I thought for some reason it might be a bigger, more punchy chorus. We might get that, but I feel like kind of keeping it, you know, a little bit quieter, almost like the inner brooding of us in the sub, I think is definitely applicable stylistically for that. Yeah, anyway.
Exposure. I feel it creeping in the wall, looking for closure. I take the fall. The floor is moving. I'm hearing voices again. Toxic union. I'm just a means to the end. We walk in the darkness, no matter the harm that it causes. And
Nice.
paying in blood for the future. I'll be the butcher.
Okay, I'm glad they mentioned that because I was almost wanting to talk about that, but it's not a spoiler, but it's a facet of the character that they emphasize. They give a lot of history to the character that is never explained. I don't think that's a bad thing. If you played the game, you'd know how they don't explain anything at all. So this guy's a criminal who's being sent down. We know that from the game, but for what? What is his deal? They don't really explain much. They throw out certain things and just don't explain it. And one of those is calling the character that Mark played the Butcher. And it's so interesting because for the most part in the movie, he never leans into it. He almost makes it seem like that's not me. I was framed. Someone else made that up. I don't know. But then there comes a point, and you can say what you want to about his acting. I think it's phenomenal. There were a couple times where him yelling and being like, I don't think, like, it sounded like he was angry at a game for a second. I've watched him for so long. When he gets all fumey and stuff, it kind of sounded like that. So I chuckled a little bit. But the rest of the time, I was very much drawn in. And there's a point where he says, well, you want the butcher? I'll give you the butcher. And it was like, oh, okay. It made me think of The Spot. The first time I saw him in, I didn't watch the first Spider-Verse, but the second Spider-Verse, when he comes in and goes, like, he gets all evil and goes, I will take away everything from you. I was like, oh, this guy is not to be toyed with. Like, so I thought it was a great little bit of exposition there and also character, like, show. So yeah, it's this toxic communion. There's a lot of ways that the characters and the stars saw a potential revival from this quiet rapture, which also is a very biblical type theme, the rapture just being taken away. The communion is tied to, the body of Christ and paying for your sins, the blood and the flesh in that. So I like that connection being made with the lyrics here. Also with some of the stuff you understand about the rapture and all that, there's some side of it that's almost religious, but they're kind of crazy. So that's a very nice way of intimating that, just with toxic communion. Very good. Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention, because I was stressing so much about the lore and the story. I love how they are mixing. Obviously, he's singing cleanly on top, and then underneath it, they add a little bit of glitch to it. I was worried that was going to take away some of the value of his singing, because it could very easily sound like you're just pitch correcting it and it just sounds auto-tuned or whatever. But the fact is, they've mixed it in a way that you can tell there's these clean vocals that sound really good. I like that. I think that's very, very cool.
Down at the bottom, standing in what's left of a people. Looking at an unknowing God in the eye. What I thought was an answer that lied in the deep was a hole in the world where the whole world died.
Ooh, okay, great alliteration right there. I want to stress the beat here. He could have standing in what's left of the people, looking at an unknowing God in the eye. Like da 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 da. He could have just kept with that, but we're doing a lot to not do that type of flow, because we're continuing rhyme schemes into the next lines, which just shows an ability of understanding how to perform those types of lyrics and do it in a good way. It just comes with that type of practice. So
standing in what's left of a people, looking at an unknowing God in the eye. What I thought was an answer that lied in the deep was a hole in the world where the whole world died.
Okay. Oh, darn it. I meant to do this before. Okay. Standing what's left of the people, looking at an unknown God in the eye. What I thought was an answer that lied in the deep was a hole in the world, where the whole world died. So people, I, deep, deep was people. Just it's like if I were to compare it to the drums. If you're doing a solo or something, right? You can start off on beat, and then you go out of the beat, and you're just doing your thing, and then you come back on the beat. So that is a structure and understanding of rap that is just so not sought after these days, because it's a lot more, entertaining for some to just have very specific rap that's just like that. It's the same flow for the whole song. But there's so much of this. I'm not going to even spoil it, because this is kind of a spoiler in a way. But if you know the story, you'd know how this could be comparable. What I thought was an answer that lied in the deep was a hole in the world where the whole world died. Just incredible visual description on that.
Body, this tree, this will not end with me. I'm ready to fight. Step out of the light and shut the fuck up.
Ooh, okay. It was that moment exactly where I felt like Mark's acting was just all the better. Okay, nice little breakdown. Nice. Okay, I'm curious though with this visual if that has anything to do with like the tree. It's talked about in the movie. If you know, you know. Because it just feels very like either like the structure of a cell or of computers and stuff. Not any particular visual you see in the game, unlike the blood bubbling over to on the left side, or some of the visuals from the camera on the right. This looks so different. So I'm curious what their inspiration is with that one. Yeah, it's one of those things. The thing that I loved most, at least for me, with the movie Iron Lung, they did so much with camera angles. You'd be surprised how many times the camera is zoomed in so far, and then you see Mark's hand grab one of the controls and move it. They did so many different things. They'd have a corner angle focusing on some water, some condensation dripping down, and everything else behind it is, dark and blurry and stuff. And then it comes into focus. Like, all those little tiny details, it just gives you this picture of I'm stressed. Everything's closing in around me. We're looking at everything from all these different angles, but the longer we're in this, the more I feel claustrophobic. So when it got to a point where Mark's character is just yelling at whomever is talking to him, and there's a few bait and switch moments, psychological horror that goes on in the movie that I was like, oh my gosh, I would be screaming like him too. And I think also just for the fact that I know a little bit about Mark. I don't know him personally. I've never met him, but I've watched him since like 2013 at least. The idea of someone like him being pushed to, obviously acting, but yelling and being like, you shut the fuck up. Like that is a moment for a lot of us where it's like, oh man, if he's going to snap from this kind of thing, wow, that makes me feel all the more the stressor of what's going on. So that's another reason why I really like the movie as well. So. Nice singing in the background. Okay, I was going to say, where are we going with those drums? Ooh, what a singer. Whoa. That moment right there, it cut out. Am I the flesh or the ooh? And it's the whole until he said lockdown, all of that just cut out. Oh, that immediately makes me think of a transmission ending. You're trying to yell something and then just ooh, super spooky. But you guys, please let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you saw the movie, what did you think about it? But if you've seen the movie, tell me if you've seen the game before the movie. I want to know your thoughts. Obviously, link to this is going to be in the description. Go support these guys. They make plenty of other awesome music, and I hope you give that a shot. And that's all I got to say about that.